we've got the brand new Ford Ranger and the Toyota HiLux ready to rumble. This is the comparison you've been waiting for. Look at these machines kicking up the dust out here in the bush. We've got the Ranger and the brand new HiLux ready to battle it out. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're finally settling the score. It's the Ranger versus the HiLux, and we are putting them through the toughest terrain Australia has to offer. The Ranger really steps up with the integrated tailgate access, especially out here. Yeah, but the HiLux build quality is still unmatched in these conditions. Yeah. The Ford engine is simply more efficient, Will. You can't argue with the numbers. Efficiency isn't everything out here. I'll take proven durability over a few extra kilowatts any day. And here it comes now. The HiLux absolutely dominates this track.
Yeah, the stance on that is incredible.
But the real standout feature here, especially on this terrain, is the upgraded approach angle and that increased ground clearance. It makes a huge difference. These are two of the toughest trucks on the market.
Yes, and we've brought them out here to the bush to see which one handles the terrain best.
Now this trim level jumps significantly due to the upgraded suspension and tech package.
So you're paying for that off-road capability.
Exactly. So Matt, the manual SR5 comes in just under 64,000 AUDs.
Yeah, which makes it about 43,000 US dollars before on roads.
The automatic transmission brings the SR5 HiLux up to 65,990 Australian dollars, excluding on-road costs.
Please.
Looking at the numbers on screen, the premium interior pushes the total to nearly 60.
Which makes you wonder if the upgrades justify the significant...
That's the HiLux wrapped up. Now follow me, we're heading straight over to the new Ranger to see how these two compare head to head.
Looking at the profile, the ground clearance is seriously impressive.
Yeah, and this metallic blue really pops against the red dirt out here. This integrated bumper step is brilliant, and check out these recovery points.
Yeah, they've definitely improved the rear design, but let's see how the HiLux handles the track.
Right, Will, the moment we've been waiting for. The Ranger Sport kicks off at just over 71,000 locals.
71,590, that puts it right in contention, doesn't it?
You get the upgraded suspension, the new infotainment system, and check this out, a 5-year warranty included standard.
Yeah, that's unbelievable value right here.
What I really like about the new Ranger is this aggressive stance and ground clearance.
It looks tough, but let's see how it handles those deep ruts ahead. Here they are, the HiLux and the Ranger, ready for the track. Inside the Ranger, the tech is impressive, but the HiLux really holds its own.
The build quality around the grille seems solid, especially this joint here. They've definitely reinforced the approach angle on this model. The XLT V6 model starts right at 69,490 AUDs.
And that's about 46,618 USD before your on-road costs.
While the HiLux has a strong legacy, the Ranger truly pulls ahead in standard features. Just look at this infotainment upgrade.
Yep. This screen is really responsive, hey? Easy to navigate the map.
Yes. Absolutely. And the feedback on the steering wheel and the shifter is spot on.
Yeah. You can really see the difference in the tailgate stamping here on the Ranger.
Absolutely. And the structural integrity around the latch feels incredibly solid on the HiLux.
Starting to get a little old now.
Yeah.
Actually, for me, really... Do you think they'll probably build the areas?
Yeah, especially when you look at the HiLux right next to it.
Yeah.
See, this is where the Ranger struggles. These tyres and the low clearance here are just not up to Australian standards.
Yeah, I agree. It's a compromise.
The updated grille and headlight configuration here on the Ranger really give it a bold stance. It's functional too, especially when you consider the...
Look at the detail on that camera view, essential for the tight sections ahead.
Definitely. Visibility is key when we hit that next sandy clearing.
The chrome finish on this new Ranger grille is certainly bold. It really stands out against the blue paintwork. And look at the difference in the bonnet lines here. The Ford is certainly bolder, but this HiLux design feels more integrated.
I agree. It's a cleaner profile overall. The halogen setup on the Ranger is robust.
But the HiLux offers these sleek LED daytime running lights, a definite visual upgrade. You might look at this massive front end and think it's overkill, but I absolutely love it. The sensor placement is perfect.
Yeah, it looks great.
My main concern here on the HiLux is this low mounted sensor housing. As I tap it now, you can feel it's quite vulnerable during an approach. These parking them side by side really highlights the size difference. The Ranger just looks bigger, especially the width.
It does, which inspires confidence when you're tackling these tracks.
Taking a look at the side profile, these alloy wheels and the running boards have handled the track beautifully so far.
Yeah, they've really proven their durability today.
They both handle the track well, but the Ranger really stands out visually.
Exactly. Look at this C-clamp LED headlight cluster. It's aggressive and functional.
See how they've sculpted the fenders here?
Yeah.
It's much more aggressive than the Ranger.
Yeah, it really suits the terrain out here too.
What really stands out when you're tackling this terrain is the upgraded suspension system. It just absorbs everything the track throws at it.
Yeah.
And see how they've integrated the HiLux badge here? It feels robust.
Definitely more refined than the previous model.
People ask how tough the HiLux is. I tell them it's tougher than a $10 steak.
That's fair.
See, I can adjust the terrain response settings right from the phone app now.
Yeah, that's smart. Does the Ranger offer anything similar?
All right, let's check out the business end. The HiLux's cargo capacity really shines out here on the bushland track. Absolutely, it holds up well. While some might see this sports bar as purely cosmetic, it's built tough, and as you can see, the finish holds up well to the elements. It really completes the profile. All right, Will, what are your initial thoughts on the build quality back here?
Matt, it's solid. Look at the reinforcement around the tailgate alone.
Looking at the rear styling, the Ranger feels a bit more modern, but let's talk brass tacks. That bumper height is a concern off-road. The handle feels solid, and the Toyota badge relocation cleans up the look significantly.
It does, but I still prefer the simplicity of the Ranger's design.
Yeah, this is the SR5 grade HiLux, and they've made the Toyota lettering much more prominent on the tailgate for this generation.
It's certainly bold. The SR5 badge stands out too.
See how much wider this step is compared to the Ranger? It makes accessing the tray much easier when you've got muddy boots on.
They've really extended the wheelbase on this Ranger.
Yeah, especially when you look at the bed length compared to the HiLux.
But let's look closer at the Ranger. This front grille and the LED setup are aggressive.
Yes. Yeah, the silver bumper insert adds a lot too. Welcome back to the track test. Today we're looking at the brand new Toyota HiLux, and it handles this terrain incredibly well. The approach angles on this HiLux are impressive for stock, especially compared to the Ranger.
Yeah, it really handles the terrain well out here.
So right here in the app, I just hit this button and the mirrors fold right in.
Wow, that's super practical for these tight spots.
So looking at the sports bar here on the HiLux, it's solid black steel, feels really robust. It's functional too, offering tie-down points, which is a nice addition. And taking a closer look at the back of the HiLux here, you can really see the heavy-duty construction of that tow hitch and the exhaust routing.
You can really see the difference back here. The Ranger has the width.
Absolutely, but check out the integrated step on this HiLux bumper. Makes accessing the tray so much easier. It's missing any sort of dampening mechanism, it just drops.
But maybe less to brake is better out here on the track.
True, but refinement matters.
Yeah.
The tailgate mechanism feels solid out here on the track.
Absolutely, and this camera setup is perfect for tight spots.
Looking at the Toyota's cargo area, you can see it's built tough for these conditions.
Yeah, and the ease of access to the tailgate latch is great.
Right.
And the HiLux is good, but check out the rear clearance on this Ranger.
Exactly, Matt, and this integrated step in the bumper makes accessing the bed so much easier out here. Now, looking at the back, the HiLux tailgate really stands out with this integrated step, making access so much easier out here on the track. As you can see, the dimensions here are impressive. Ford really optimized the space utilization in this new model.
They really stepped up their game this year.
Yeah.
Look at the size of this tray, Matt. It's massive for this segment.
Absolutely will. At 1555 millimeters long and 1540 wide, it really sets the bar for cargo space. As you can see, the tray measures in at 1464 millimeters long, which is still spacious, but 91 millimeters shorter than the HiLux. It's slightly narrower at 1520, but check out the depth here, 525.
Yeah, that extra depth really makes a difference when you're loading gear in the back.
You can see right here, we've got the crucial measurement of 1105 millimeters. That means you can finally fit a Euro pallet between the arches, which is a massive improvement. Yeah. The ribbed plastic liner here is much tougher than it looks, and you've got multiple tie-down points.
Yeah, that's a big plus for securing gear on these rough tracks.
The integrated tailgate assist on the new Ranger makes a huge difference when you're loading heavy gear. It's much smoother.
Yeah, that hydraulic assist is definitely noticeable.
I'm telling you right now, the debate is over. The Ranger is the king of the bush. The Ranger's payload capacity comes in at 1,047 kilograms.
And we've certainly put that to the test out here today.
Looking underneath, you can really see the difference in the suspension setups here.
Yeah, the Ranger's articulation is impressive on this uneven.
When we look at the numbers for towing, they're very close, but the payload is where the Ranger takes a slight lead.
Yeah.
That extra capacity makes a difference here. The HiLux really manages the corrugations well out here on the track.
But the Ranger's approach angle is definitely better suited for the tougher obstacles ahead.
As you can see, the power is impressive at 150 kilowatts, but it's the 500 Newton meters of torque that really tells the story for this track.
The HiLux might have the edge on these corrugated tracks.
Perhaps, but the Ranger feels more planted on the dusty climbs. Honestly, I'm torn. It handles the rough terrain well enough, but I expected more responsiveness from the transmission given the specs. And my three key points on the performance are the improved torque, the enhanced fuel efficiency, and finally, the superior handling on this rugged terrain. So here it is, the updated 2.8 litre turbo diesel.
Well, it's the key difference maker for the HiLux this year, especially out here on the track.
Look at the setup in the Ranger. Ford optimized this for the tougher conditions we see out here compared to the HiLux.
And that makes a huge difference on these climbs.
Yeah. The big number to look at here for the manual HiLux is the torque. It delivers a solid 420 Newton meters, which translates to 309 foot-pounds. The updates to the Ranger's engine bay are significant for this terrain.
Yeah. But don't count out the HiLux yet. We're excited to show you how they perform.
Access to the secondary fuel filter here is straightforward, which is handy for the dusty conditions out back.
Yeah, definitely makes roadside maintenance easier.
So this is the new 3 litre V6 diesel. Power figures are up, but more importantly, look at the placement of the air intake here.
Yeah, keeping it high for the water crossings is smart.
The Ranger's approach angle is clearly more aggressive for this terrain.
Agreed, but the HiLux articulation handles these ruts surprisingly well.
This new 3 litre V6 is what everyone has been waiting for.
And looking at it up close, you can see why it delivers so much low-end torque.
I just cannot believe they cheaped out on the struts here.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's absolutely ridiculous for this price point, Will.
Yeah.
The key takeaways here are the upgraded towing capacity, the improved fuel injection system, and finally, how quiet it runs compared to the previous gen. So this is the updated 2.8 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel.
Yeah, and the numbers are pretty impressive for this segment, especially the torque delivery down low.
If you look right here, this is the variable geometry turbocharger.
Yeah, and that holds up well in this kind of dusty environment.
Yeah.
There it is. The engine comparison goes to the HiLux! Woo! Absolutely deserved.
The utilitarian layout works, but I'm impressed with the seat comfort on this track.
Absolutely, they've really stepped up the interior finish this time around.
The interior design is a massive step up, especially this touchscreen interface. It's incredibly responsive.
Yeah, the integration looks much more seamless now.
Immediately, these steering controls are better positioned.
Yeah, and I much prefer the textured finish on this dash compared to the Ranger.
Yeah.
The suspension on this HiLux is really soaking up the bigger hits.
It is, but I'm hearing a lot more cabin rattle than I expected on the corrugations.
See, this manual transmission gives you so much more control on these steep descents.
Yeah.
The feedback through the shifter is excellent, eh?
Yeah.
You've got these two cup holders here, and this little nook is perfect for keys or a wallet. Storage is well thought out.
Yeah.
Okay, heated seats activated. Oh yeah, that is instant relief.
I'm genuinely jealous right now. Enjoy the warmth in the HiLux.
Welcome back to the channel. I'm holding the keys to the HiLux. Will and I are keen to see how it performs off-road.
While we're sitting here on the track, let's look at the infotainment. The touch response is decent, but the glare from the sun makes it hard to see sometimes.
Yeah.
The response time on this HiLux system is noticeably slow.
Definitely. There's a significant delay when you try to zoom or drag the map. When you're tackling terrain like this, you really want the engagement of the manual stick.
Yeah.
The feel is just spot on.
Yeah.
So overall, the HiLux handles the rough terrain well, but this infotainment system still needs work.
But check this out, this portrait screen is a massive improvement over the old model.
Yeah.
The clarity on the tracks is unreal. Yeah, it really handles the glare well too.
Yeah, it handles the rough track well, but let's talk about this interior. The center console is well laid out.
Absolutely, and these steering wheel controls are easy to use even when bouncing around.
Yeah.
The interior comfort and the tech upgrades they've put in here are top notch. It gets a solid thumbs up from me.
Absolutely, makes long trips much easier.
The feel of the gear selector is crucial when you're out here on the track.
Yeah.
This unit in the Ranger is responsive and tactile.
Yeah.
They've really upgraded the tactile feel of these buttons, and the screen response is much faster now.
I agree on the screen, but I'm not sure about the placement of these vents.
Yeah. All right, first impressions are very strong.
Definitely, definitely. It's handling these bumps better than I expected. Check out this massive portrait screen, Will.
Yeah.
It handles the navigation perfectly out here. And these seats are incredibly comfortable on the rough terrain.
Today we're putting the Ford Ranger through its paces against the HiLux.
This track is going to be a real test for both of them. The touchscreen is incredibly responsive, even when we're bouncing around off-road.
Yeah.
Look how quickly the map updates.
That is impressive latency. The infotainment screen is excellent, very clear display even in this bright sun, and the response time is quick.
It really makes the bolstering really hugs you on this rough terrain, and the console layout is a huge step up ergonomically.
Absolutely, it makes a difference when you're bouncing around out here.
As you can see, this section here is ideal for smaller items, keeping them secure even on rough terrain like this.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
And this new infotainment screen is brilliant off-road.
Absolutely, the camera angles make a huge difference navigating these tight tracks. As you can see, legroom is minimal back here for an adult.
And the headroom, once you adjust that.
Even with the headrest up, it's still very cramped.
Yeah.
All right, so we're currently testing the back seats in the HiLux out here on the track.
Yeah. It handles the bumps surprisingly well, Matt.
Let's talk about the rear comfort. As you can see, Will doesn't have a ton of space back there. It's passable, but maybe not ideal for long trips.
The HiLux interior holds up well on these tracks. This grey leather feels robust, and even with the bumps, it's quite comfortable back here.
And as you can see, the rear vents are well placed. Plus, you get the added convenience of these quick charge USB ports right here. You can actually raise this quite high, which really helps with the headroom back here.
Absolutely, that adjustability makes a huge difference.
Surprisingly fun in here, isn't it?
Yeah, the design choices are certainly unique and interesting for this segment.
The front is great, but let's be honest, how often do we see usable rear seats in this segment?
Exactly. Let's jump around and take a closer look at the HiLux second row. Honestly, the comfort back here is surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Look at the headroom.
Yeah.
How's the passenger room in the back there?
Oh,
yeah. Let's check it out. There is actually plenty of shoulder room, even for two adults.
The Ranger's rear seats are surprisingly comfortable, there's ample legroom, and the ride quality back here is impressive.
Yeah, it really handles the bumps well.
All right, Will, we're tackling the bushland track. How are you finding the rear passenger comfort back here?
Honestly, Matt, it handles the bumps surprisingly well, but it is quite tight on the legs.
So Will, what do you think about the space back here in the Ranger?
Honestly, Matt, for a ute, the legroom is surprisingly good. The adjustability back here makes a huge difference when you're tackling rough terrain all day.
Yeah.
The comfort level is seriously impressive.
Yeah.
You just push it up to hide it away, but when you need them, pull it down, and there they are. That's a really solid setup for the back seats, much better than the previous model. Opening the door up, you can really see the quality of this black leather upholstery.
And the space back here is impressive for a ute, makes a big difference on a long trip.
Legroom in the back of the Ranger is surprisingly decent. I've got enough knee clearance, and the seat design is actually quite supportive for long trips.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Dealerships leave you feeling totally ripped off.
This is taking forever and the fees keep changing.
But with CarSource, I found the perfect truck instantly. All right, Matt, we've put the Ranger through its paces. Now it's time for the HiLux.
Absolutely, Will. Let's see how this Toyota handles the rough stuff out here.
Even for two full-grown blokes, the legroom is solid. Look at this space, definitely roomy.
The amount of footroom down here is genuinely impressive for this segment.
It is. The HiLux definitely feels a bit more cramped in comparison.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have to say, this is surprisingly comfortable back here.
Absolutely, it's handling this terrain beautifully, and the view isn't bad either.
We're getting properly bounced around back here. Look at the Ranger handling that section.
Yeah, the terrain is definitely getting rougher. All right, putting the HiLux into low range now as we approach this descent. Yeah.
This is where the crawl control really shines on these deep ruts.
Listen to that suspension work. We are absolutely flying.
I can't believe how fast we're taking this section.
That HiLux is absolutely monstering this track.
Oh, yeah, the suspension is working overtime trying to keep it together.
We are bouncing everywhere. This is madness, I love it.
The suspension articulation on this is incredible, Will.
Yeah, it really soaks up these bumps better than I expected. The suspension is really working hard back there.
Yeah, I am getting absolutely thrown around in the passenger seat right now.
This track is intense, but the HiLux is absolutely eating it up. Listen to that suspension work.
Yeah, it handles the bumps incredibly well. Now we've put the HiLux into 4 low and we're heading straight for the articulation section. This thing absolutely chews up the terrain. What do you think of the ride quality so far? It's brilliant, smooth as anything, even over the corrugations.
The HiLux is handling this incredibly well.
Ooh. I can't believe how steep this is. The roll angle is massive.
Matt, the cruise control just dropped out. It won't turn on.
Yeah. Are you serious? We need that working for this section.
Look at the pitch angle there. It's really flexing.
Yeah, the suspension is soaking that up nicely.
All right, guys, we've got the Ranger and the HiLux ready for the bushland track.
This terrain too, right? Dust is rough, Matt. Already kicking up.
And as we push the HiLux hard on this track, it's worth noting its impressive 700mm water weighting capability. This section right here is exactly where the HiLux shines. Look at the suspension flex on this climb.
Yeah, the articulation is impressive. It just eats up these dunes.
The HiLux is really proving itself on this terrain. Absolutely. The suspension is soaking up these bumps better than I expected.
This obstacle really tests the suspension travel, Will.
Absolutely, Matt. And the HiLux is handling it surprisingly well, keeping traction even with the wheel off the ground.
The suspension is really taking a beating through here, but it's holding up.
Yeah, the articulation over these ruts is impressive.
The suspension is definitely working hard, but it's soaking up these washouts better than I expected.
It really is. It feels incredibly composed even at this speed.
Yeah. The way this suspension handles the corrugations out here is absolutely phenomenal. I cannot believe how composed it feels.
It's mega, isn't it?
23 degrees on the breakover angle with the HiLux, which is solid for this terrain.
Yeah.
But the Ranger really shines when you look at the departure angles over here.
Hold on tight back there. We're about to hit the rough section.
Mate, I am holding on. It's definitely a proper test of the suspension, that's for sure.
It's really powerful for its brain.
This HiLux is really built for this kind of terrain. The articulation is impressive. Yeah, let's see how it handles the rough stuff.
The suspension on this HiLux is really handling the corrugations well.
Oh, absolutely. It just soaks up the bumps on this track.
This thing just eats up the terrain.
Yeah, the power delivery on this incline is seriously impressive.
Oh, heavy compression there. That felt rough.
Yeah, definitely not smooth sailing. The suspension is working overtime. I cannot believe how well this is holding up. We are absolutely flying over these corrugations.
It's soaking it all up. The articulation is brilliant.
Yeah. All right, Will, I'm taking the HiLux out now.
Yes, in.
Give it some stick on that dirt section and let's see how the suspension holds up. All right, Will, you've driven both. Which one are you backing on this terrain?
Today, I think the HiLux has the edge, and let's jump in and find out.
Gauging 4LO really changes the dynamics out here. Yeah, look at those articulation angles on the screen. It's handling this track easily. See, the cruise control just won't engage out here. It keeps saying unavailable. Engaging 4LO gives us maximum traction on this terrain.
Yeah.
The control on the descent is incredible. This track is perfect for testing the suspension travel. Absolutely, especially this next section. Let's see how the HiLux flexes. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are comparing the new HiLux and the Ranger out here on the bushland track.
And Matt, the HiLux is certainly making an entrance up this dune.
The HiLux is known for its reliability, but let's see how the Ranger handles this terrain.
Yeah, the Ranger should eat this up.
I cannot believe how fast we're taking this section.
Woo! It doesn't even feel like we're slowing down. What a machine. And this is where the Ranger really shines. We are absolutely flying over this corrugation. The feedback through the wheel is surprisingly good too.
Yeah. I still can't believe you wore white out here today. Well, at least the air conditioning is working wonders, keeping the dust out.
The upgraded terrain management system handles this deep sand effortlessly, keeping the power exactly where you need it. And the ride comfort is surprisingly good.
Yeah. All right, Will, I reckon it's time to see what the Ranger can really do out here. Yeah. Let's see if it handles the corrugations better than the HiLux did. The Ranger boasts a 21-degree breakover angle, which you can really see in action here.
It makes a noticeable difference when tackling.
The Ranger's ground clearance is seriously impressive at 234mm. It just eats up this uneven track.
Absolutely.
Well, that's soft, Nip.
Mate, this thing absolutely eats up the corrugations. It's unreal.
Yeah, I know. I actually prefer the driving position in the HiLux though, surprisingly.
Oh yeah, look at that splash. That thing just charged right through it. The torque delivery is super impressive on the exit there.
Woohoo! Send it.
Yes, this is incredible. It just eats it up. So that's how they stack up on paper. But torque is cheap out here on the bushland track.
Exactly. Let's see how the Ranger performs when the rubber hits the dirt.
How are you finding the suspension on this track, Matt?
Honestly, it's handling these bumps better than I expected.
Hear that turbo kick in.
Yeah, it really shifts the dust, doesn't it?
We are hitting the rough section now in the Ranger and it's handling it well. We can certainly feel the track over here in the HiLux, Matt.
Yeah, the suspension is definitely getting a workout today.
How are you finding the ride comfort back there?
Yeah. Honestly, it's smoother than I expected given the speed we're carrying through this washboard section.
This suspension is absolutely eating up the corrugations.
Yeah, it's remarkably composed for this terrain. What a machine. This real-time pitch and roll data is fantastic for navigating difficult sections like this. See how the four-wheel drive system is engaging.
Absolutely, it makes a huge difference out here. The Ranger is absolutely soaking up these bumps out here on the track.
It is, but I think the HiLux suspension feels slightly more composed through the rough stuff.
Yeah.
Hang on, look at this message here.
Yeah.
To stay in neutral when exiting vehicle, select M button. That's an important note.
This thing absolutely flies off-road. It just wants more power.
I cannot believe how fast we're taking this section.
What I really love about the new Ranger is how it handles the rough stuff. The steering feedback is spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels completely planted.
Yeah.
Look at the articulation on the screen. The suspension is absolutely soaking this up.
Yeah. We're hitting some crazy angles right now. This display is super helpful.
Reckon we can power through this, or are we getting stuck again?
She'll be right. Hop in.
The real test is articulation. The Ranger's suspension setup absolutely dominates this terrain. Look at that grip.
The articulation on these new Rangers is just phenomenal out here.
Absolutely, Matt. It barely breaks a sweat, even on the rough stuff.
All right, Will, this track is brutal. I'm taking the Ranger, you take the HiLux. First one to the clearing wins.
You're on, let's see what they can do. I am seriously impressed with how it's handling these ruts.
Honestly, it just soaks it all up. Super comfortable ride off-road.
We've got the Ranger and the HiLux ready for the bush track today, Matt. Let's see which one performs best.
I think the Ford will take it this time. I still think the HiLux would have handled that dip better. Like,
No way, we would have lost the spoiler.
it doesn't have a spoiler.
Exactly, that's why the Ranger wins.
What really impresses me out here is how well this setup handles the corrugations. You can feel the system actively adjusting.
Absolutely, it's very composed.
All right, V-Box results are in. 16 seconds exactly for the quarter mile.
I did not expect the Ranger to be that quick off the line.
Yeah.
See, this is exactly what I mean. The articulation just isn't there. It handles the bumps, sure, but it feels every single one. I don't know, Matt, it seems pretty capable.
Look at how much articulation we're getting through that washboard section.
It's incredibly composed. The traction control is working well.
We're keeping up with the Ranger, no problem.
The HiLux is definitely proving itself in the dust today.
We are absolutely pushing the HiLux hard right now. It's taken everything we throw at it.
The Ranger feels much smoother though.
I agree, the dampening is spot on. All right, so we're hitting the dry dirt now, and the traction control is really earning its keep. It feels incredibly planted.
It does, mate. Handles the dust like a champ.
All right, Will, let's see what this HiLux can really do out here. Send it, mate. This thing absolutely eats up the dirt.
This track is really putting the suspension to the test.
Yeah, it's handling these ruts surprisingly well.
Now, while the HiLux is good, the Ranger just takes it to another level out here. Look at how it handles this section.
Right then, HiLux first. Let's see what she can do on the dirt. Yeah, keen to compare the ride quality after that stretch in the Ranger.
Right, this track is really putting the suspension to the test now.
It is, but the HiLux is absolutely eating up this terrain.
Yeah. The HiLux has proven reliable out here, but let's see how it handles the acceleration test on this pavement.
I'm keen to see the difference in the updated suspension.
This track is intense, but the HiLux is handling it surprisingly well.
Yeah, the suspension is really soaking up these bumps. Check this out. The HiLux just grips the pavement and goes. It's much faster than the Ranger off the line. I cannot believe how well this suspension is holding up. It just eats the bumps.
This is seriously impressive off-road performance.
This Ranger just eats up the bumps. The HiLux is struggling to keep up, Matt.
Lean jammers. All right, Will, let's look at the numbers. We've done about 50 clicks of hard off-road driving.
Yeah, and the average litre is still sitting at 12 litres. I mean, listen to that. The Ranger just eats these bumps for breakfast compared to the HiLux. It's night and day, Matt. The suspension articulation is phenomenal out here. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nothing's gonna stop us now. We're taking this all the way. Woo, yeah.
The approach angles on the new Ranger are really impressive.
They've certainly improved the clearance for this kind of terrain.
The Ranger is handling this track incredibly well.
Yeah, the suspension is soaking up everything we're throwing at it.
Control.
The steering feedback on these dusty trails is impressive. Even over the corrugated sections, the cabin remains surprisingly composed.
All right, Matt, let's see what this thing can really do on the track. I'm ready if you are, hold on.
The suspension on this Ranger honestly just soaks up these bumps. It handles the corrugated track incredibly well.
What about the clearance when we hit that rut back there?
While the HiLux is a strong contender, the upgrades on this new Ranger really shine when you hit the dirt.
Absolutely, let's put it to the test.
6 points to the Ranger. It absolutely nailed the driving section out here. It certainly did. What a machine.
While the HiLux put up a fight, the Ranger really showed its strength out here today.
Yeah, I have to agree. The blue oval takes the win this time. When you look at these two side by side out here, the differences are obvious. Yeah.
Absolutely. This HiLux suspension feels much more tuned for this terrain.
Let's break it down. Pros, the reliability and payload capacity are excellent. Cons, the ride quality on corrugated roads and the approach angle are still major issues.
This new Ranger really impressed me with its torque down low.
Yeah, and the HiLux finally has the suspension travel to compete off-road. It's a tough choice. The approach angle on this Ranger is significantly better for these ruts, but the HiLux suspension handles the washboard track smoother. Whether you lean towards the steadfast performance of the Ranger or the surprising capability of the HiLux, both trucks prove their worth on this terrain.
They certainly did.
The Ranger really steps up the interior tech this year.
Yeah.
Maybe, but the HiLux controls are built for this environment.
Yeah.
And that wraps up our comparison of the Ranger and the HiLux on the bush track.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun today. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Well, there you have it. The Ranger and the HiLux.
Yeah, tough choice this year. What do you reckon? So if you want to see how these two stack up off-road, hit that QR code now. You can find the full review at carsource.com/buy.